there's going to be, and there is a lot going on about enterprise AI, let's call it, which is figuring out how to use all the generative AI stuff in a business context. Now, there's really only two reasons you do something with technology in the business world, and that is to optimize or save money or get better customer experience so that you have better products so that people buy it or keep buying it.
I mean, sure, you make a better product or service, you figure out something that makes people want to buy your stuff. That could be customer experience, but whatever.
You basically want to sell stuff, and you want to do it as cheaply as possible. So first, focus on those two things as the goals that you have. Second, no one really knows how you would use this stuff in an enterprise context. We barely know in a regular everyday life cultural context. So you need to experiment. Now, worst of all, no one knows how secure, how insecure, how ethical, how everything, all the negative stuff things are, because no one really knows how this stuff works so well. So the first thing you should do is experiment. If you are an executive or someone in charge of this, you should know the tool. It's not like programming where you have to learn how to program. Thankfully, you can just buy a subscription to ChatGPT or Gemini or the other ones. I live in the EU, so we don't get that many options because I guess the EU cares about privacy and things like that. Or probably more likely, those companies don't care to care.
Yeah.
You should spend a month or so and really use it and get an understanding of what it is, figure out how it works, come up with use cases. More importantly, find the limitations of it. Find out what it does and doesn't do. And I think the main thing you'll find is that it lacks imagination and initiative, and that it takes a lot of crafting to get it to do what seems obvious. And also it's hard to specialize to what you want. But this all depends on the business cases that you're gonna do, how you're gonna apply it. But you should really spend at least a week trying to use it for everything. Now, there's gonna be your first thing, is you're gonna wanna cut and paste or otherwise reveal secrets and things like that. And is that good or bad? I don't know.
Well, I mean, sure, you don't want to release secrets and do stuff like that will damage your business, but it's more the point of like, think through it before you freak out, because we've had stuff like this in the past.
There was a time when email was around where people thought it was awful and it was going to bring about the end of the world because it was all on computers and you were sending around messages. And now email is totally normal and very few people would think that it's going to destroy their business. You need to try it and use it. You need experience knowing what it's like. Otherwise, as you go along determining budgets and strategy, you're just going to be making shit up.
Well, I guess I won't be releasing this on the corporate channels now.
And you're just going to be relying on other people who probably also haven't tried it and used it. And when you don't know something with technology, IT, apps, what you want to do is experiment with it. Does it work to help you spend less time in meetings and make decisions faster? Does it work to tell you where you should change your supply chain around? Does it work to tell you creative ideas and marketing? Or does it work to tell you new audiences you could reach, ways you could change your product? Who knows? Again, no one really knows what it can be used for in a business context. Because right now it's sort of like a dancing bear at kind of intermediate level. You go and see a dancing bear and everyone is amazed, even though it's a really shitty dancer. And that's kind of where AI stuff is. As you're using it, you want to get your staff to set up some sort of controlled sandbox, some environment where they can experiment with AI, and not just the publicly available AI, but where they can start customizing it, adding your own data, and more importantly, building apps on top of it. The thing about ChatGPT is that AI technology existed for a while in various forms and maturity, but it didn't take off until the app, the chat interface, was added to it. That's another key to what is going to make enterprise AI valuable, is the apps on top of it. So this, once again, as always, brings forward the importance of apps and product managing the apps, being imaginative and experimenting with figuring out what apps can do. So you need your developers to have a toolkit available to them and to start thinking about how they use AI. And they're gonna like AI for coding and things, which is great, but you also need them to be familiar with how to use AI for whatever business you have, because you're gonna be relying on their imagination to help out with that. So think about how you're going to build the development stack. How are you going to make it available for them in this sandbox environment where you can control what happens, you can add in features, also so you can control costs. Just like with public cloud stuff, if you're not monitoring the costs, your exuberance about it, your experimenting is probably going to give you bills that you didn't really expect. So you're going to want an AI stack that has the infrastructure, the actual, I don't even know what I'm talking about here, the models, all that AI gunk. But then you also want an integrated application development toolkit on top of it. And this is where I'm going to try to sell you something. What you should do is look at the Tanzu platform and look at how we're experimenting with adding AI into the stack.
Yeah. Well, now it's worth noting that while the AI stuff is experimental, I don't really keep track of this stuff, but it's in beta, I think, maybe whatever else. But in general, apart from the AI stuff, the Tanzu platform has been used by many real large organizations for a long time to run thousands and thousands of apps and services that they rely on. You've probably actually used some of those apps today, if you're like me. And it's a great platform for running things. It's got great performance outcomes. It's got actual business outcomes, which that's pretty nice to have when you're in a business. But it's proven and it works well and people like it, regardless of AI stuff or not.
So to me, that makes it the perfect stack with experimenting and then eventually running your AI stuff, because it's really just focused on the applications and making it possible for you to fiddle around with that. And there's already a chat thing written into it. You can see demos of how to modify the data and stuff behind it. So just use that. Just, why screw around with something that you have to build and cobble together?